Tonight we meet the man who bent this door key, apparently just by stroking it. Good evening. Many people believe in one way or another that there are phenomena that don't have a normal scientific explanation. It may be ghosts, it may be telepathy, passing thoughts from one mind to another without any contact. It could be poltergeists or premonition. Even green fingers, some people are said to have a special relationship with plants, one that I certainly wouldn't claim. Or something as curious as psychokinesis, which we hope to see demonstrated tonight, the power to bend or to break physical objects, apparently by thought, not by force. If such unexplained and undeveloped powers are possessed by the human mind, powers that our present understanding of the way life works doesn't encompass, the implications, of course, are enormous. There are enough, certainly, for scientists in the United States, and in Russia particularly, to have devoted a great deal of time and effort to studying them. Well, tonight we're going to talk to people who claim to have had experiences that can't be explained. And we're going to discuss them with Dr. Lyle Watson, scientist, biologist, author of the book Supernature, and Professor John Taylor, mathematician and scientist of King's College London, who's studied the field and remains somewhat skeptical about what he's seen. And our special guest from America, Uri Geller, who bent the key that we saw at the start of this program while I was actually holding it yesterday afternoon. He'll be talking, and we hope demonstrating his extraordinary abilities later on. I want now to introduce Uri Geller. He's a 26-year-old Israeli, at present working in the United States, who's had various powers, which are described as psychic, since he was 3. He's been denounced by some people as a magician, and certainly he's a showman. He gives demonstrations all over the United States. This is the very first time that he's performed here in Britain, and it's also the first time that he's ever taken part in a major live television broadcast, as opposed to one that's been recorded. At the moment, he's being examined by one of the largest think tanks in the United States, the Stanford Research Institute, who deal with everything from private industrial research to secret Defense Department work. And their tentative conclusion, after watching Geller at work for a period, is we have observed certain phenomena for which we have no scientific explanation. I hope in a moment we will all be able to observe those phenomena. Just, Lyle, very briefly, you've seen him at work before.
I've seen him several times.
The Stanford Research Institute judgment stands up in your view?
Well, very much. I think it's, before we even see him do anything, it's important to say one thing. That is that there are no tricks involved. Now, you may only see this happen once. Tonight's demonstration is an important one. I don't want it to be wasted. We must approach it in the right frame of mind. I saw him several times, but the very first time I saw him, everything was wasted for me because I was looking for the catch.
Right.
There is no catch.
Let's ask him on. Ladies and gentlemen, Uri Geller. Uri, could you begin by just listing for us the kinds of power that you have, the kinds of things you can do?
Well, actually, what I do is telepathy, and that is, as everybody knows, is receiving thoughts and passing thoughts, although I cannot sit here and know what you're thinking about me right now. It's very certain things that you really have to concentrate on. And then I have the other power, which I read that they call psychokinesis, and that is moving or bending or breaking objects. It doesn't have to be exactly metal. I actually don't know what it is exactly. I know I can describe you what I feel when I'm doing it, but what really happens to the metal, or what really happens between you and me in telepathy, I really don't know.
What do you feel like when you're doing it?
Well, actually, very normal. I don't go into any deep meditations or concentrations. For instance, if I try to bend something, I just put my hand on it or rub it gently. Sometimes I don't even have to touch it. And all I say is bend, bend, bend. And if it doesn't bend, I say, please bend. No, that's really so. Telepathy, I can describe more what's happening in my mind. But That's it. I believe my theories are very far out. I mean, many scientists like Stanford Research Institute, they would like to hear that it's really coming from my mind and my brain is doing it. I don't believe so. I believe that it's an outside power coming from outside my body, and I'm only a sort of a channel. But by saying this, I'm not ruling out that there are no people that are doing it with their minds or with their brains. I believe that there are. I don't think that I'm unique in what I'm doing. In telepathy, I'm sure I'm not. The bending, I don't know. But there are many people who can do telepathy. Now, I don't know if they can do it under scientific controlled conditions. I'm lucky that I can.
What's the most rigorous condition you've done it under? I mean, what did they make you do at Stanford?
Well, for instance, telepathy. If I'll do here telepathy, it'll only be a demonstration. But in Stanford, they shut you up in a shielded room or a Faraday cage. You know, nothing can get in there, and they guard the room outside. And the scientists are in a completely different department of SRI, where they sit down, again, in a closed room and draw a drawing. Now, I sit in the shielded room, and I receive what they drew. But of course, and I'm saying that, people ask me if I'm nervous before going on a television show or just before a demonstration. I am, because not of the people here, but because I don't know if anything will happen here. You know, I really don't know if it'll happen if I'll try. But it's Stanford.
If our will help, I think something will happen. But
yeah, be all right. And, no, I don't even know if it's up to the people, really. But, you know, again, in scientific controlled conditions, I have time. I mean, the scientists don't care if I'll sit for 4 hours and duplicate a drawing. They'll be very happy if I can do it in 4 hours. But again, on television or anywhere else, it either happens or it doesn't.
But is it much more difficult to do it with skeptical scientists around you, measuring it all the time?
Not if I have time. I mean, look, everyone was a skeptical there anyhow. They wanted to see, seeing is believing under their controlled conditions. So I had to face that, okay, they're skeptical, but they weren't out there to kill me or say, now we're going to prove that he cannot do it. On the contrary, they wanted to prove that I can do this under their conditions. So everyone here averagely is a skeptical person. I know from experience I'm also a skeptical. I mean, if you'll tell me about a person that can levitate himself in the air, I'd like to see it. So that I'm used to, but there are other people who are close-minded completely to it, don't even want to hear about it, and neglect it, and they're afraid of it because they learned all their lives that 2 and 2 is 4 and nothing can change that.
Do you think that your powers are altering? Is it something you're learning to do better all the time, or that you're widening the range of things you can do, or is it a static power, something you've had since you were 3 and it's the same now as it was then?
Well, I could say that somehow it's the same like it was then, but it's much sharper now somehow. You see, I don't think that the powers grew in quantity. They grew in sharpening. That means when I was 8 years old, to do a telepathy or to bend something took me 5 minutes, 7 minutes. Today, it takes me faster. But again, sometimes it takes me hours to bend something, and something nothing happens.
Can we, as a little gentle encouragement, bring on 1 or 2 of the objects we had, so we can just sit them there while we're talking?
Yeah.
We prepared some. This is a mixture of things. Let me just say, first of all, that anything that happens here this evening clearly is not being done under the most rigorous laboratory standards, but we have done what we can to ensure that everything that happens as you see it is genuine. We bought all the things that are on this tray. I've got some dice in my pocket. I'll explain it as we go along, and as Uri picks up things he wants to do.
Okay, again, I'm saying this, if anything will happen here, it will, but again, it's not an experiment, it's just a demonstration. What I will try to do first is the telepathy, and I understand there is a sealed drawing.
Can I explain about this? This is a drawing that, I don't know what's in here. It was done by one of our production assistants, and it's been sealed up like this, and I don't know what's in there, and Uri hasn't seen it until that moment.
It was drawn somewhere else, I wasn't there, but and you don't know what's in there.
I don't know.
Now, wherever that the producer is, just like it's her to concentrate and want me to know what the drawing is, but I'd like a piece of paper.
Yes, we need a bit.